June 1974. A German bank called Herstatt. Regulators pull its license in the afternoon, right in the middle of the trading day. And here's the cruel part. Banks all over the world had already paid Herstatt their Deutschmarks that morning, expecting US dollars back when New York opened. Those dollars never came. The money just vanished into the gap between the two payments. It froze global money markets, and it scared central bankers so badly they named the danger after the bank. Herstatt risk. The risk that you pay your side and the other guy never pays his. Now here's the wild part. 50 years later, that risk still exists. Trillions a day still settle with nothing protecting them. And the company that quietly did the most to kill it, you've probably never heard of it. Baton Systems. No token, no coin, no hype. And it's already settled over $25 trillion. Let's get into it. So let's rewind to 2016, Fremont, California. A guy named Arjun Jayaram starts Baton Systems, and his background is the fun part. Arjun isn't some Wall Street lifer. He ran anti-spam engineering at Twitter. He was VP of technology at the payments company Dwala, and before that, he co-founded a machine learning ad startup that Yahoo bought. So his whole career was pattern detection at massive scale. And he looks at the plumbing underneath the banking system and goes, wait, why is this so broken? And he had this great way of putting it. Moving money between banks on the old rails, he said, is like two people speaking different languages, trying to get something done, with no translator in the middle. Hardly optimal, right? So here's the contrarian bet. In 2016, everyone in crypto is screaming Ethereum killer, new coin, new token, burn it all down. Arjun says, nah. Banks aren't going to rip out the systems they've trusted for 40 years. So instead of replacing them, what if you put a shared ledger on top that just coordinates who pays what and when? Blockchain inspired, but deliberately not a blockchain. No token. Real money in real bank accounts. And people noticed early. In 2018, the Bank of England picked Baton for a proof of concept on its core payment system, testing it right alongside R3. They raised a modest amount over the next couple years, around $16 million, and that's it. No mega round, no token sale, no hype machine, just quietly building the plumbing. Okay, how does this actually work? And I'll explain it so it lands whether this is week 1 or year 10 for you. Here's the normal nightmare. Two banks do a currency trade. One pays euros, the other pays dollars. Somebody has to go first. And the second they do, they're exposed. That's the Herstatt gap. That's the whole problem. Baton's answer is called payment versus payment, PVP. And the idea is beautifully simple. Picture a neutral referee sitting between the two banks. Each bank reserves the money it owes and tells the referee, only release mine when the other side is ready to release theirs. The referee watches both legs and fires them at the exact same moment. Either both payments happen or neither does. No more going first, no more gap. And the clever bit is what Baton is not doing. It's not turning your dollars into a token. It's not a public blockchain. The real money never leaves the regulated banking system. Baton just sits on top as a shared, permissioned ledger, orchestrating the timing. The whole thing settles in under 3 minutes, no pre-funding, backed by a legal rulebook so it's final and enforceable. And look, I'll be honest about the limits. Baton doesn't publish exactly how its consensus works under the hood, so I won't pretend I can draw you the internals. But here's the cleanest way to think about it. Projects like Fnality and Partior are busy building new digital money to settle with. Baton isn't building the money. It's building the plumbing that moves it safely. And those two things actually fit together. Hold that thought. So who's actually trusting this thing with real money? This is where it gets serious. Baton says 7 of the 9 largest Western banks are on its platform. Over $25 trillion settled to date, roughly 30 billion a day, 183 million transactions. These are not pilot numbers. This is live. The flagship story is HSBC and Wells Fargo. In December 2021, those two became the first banks ever to settle foreign exchange, bank to bank, on a shared ledger, completely outside the old industry utility called CLS. And by late 2022, they'd run over $200 billion through it. And here's the nugget mainstream coverage misses. They added offshore Chinese yuan, the CNH, as a settled currency. Why does that matter? Because CLS, the safety net the industry's leaned on for decades, only covers 18 currencies. It doesn't touch most emerging market money. And right now, about $2.2 trillion a day in currency trades settle with zero protection against Herstatt risk, 50 years later. That white space is exactly what Baton goes after. Then there's Collateral. JP Morgan was an early client. BNY built Baton right into its own platform. And Baton now reaches more than a dozen clearinghouses, covering around 95% of global initial margin. And the credibility signals are real. The Bank for International Settlements flagged Baton as the only live payment versus payment FX solution. And the advisory bench? Christopher Giancarlo, the former head of the US derivatives regulator, the guy literally nicknamed Crypto Dad, plus a former secretary of the Basel Committee. That's a serious room. Now here's where the story turns, and it's very 2026. In March, Nasdaq announced it's partnering with Baton. Specifically, Nasdaq's big post-trade platform Calypso, the one tons of banks and clearinghouses run their risk and margin on. Calypso stays the brain, and Baton becomes the rails underneath, moving collateral in real time across both traditional assets and tokenized ones. And the why is striking. Nasdaq points out that something like $35 billion of collateral is just sitting there, trapped, earning nothing, because the plumbing to move it is too slow. Their own survey put numbers on fixing it: double-digit drops in settlement failures, lower operating costs, smaller collateral buffers. Magnus Haglund, a senior Nasdaq executive, framed it perfectly. Markets run in real time, he said, but post-trade is still stuck on batch processing and manual work. That's the gap they're closing. End of day to always on. And remember that thought I told you to hold? This is where the token projects come back. Baton lets a bank choose its settlement rails. You can settle one leg or both using Fnality, which is digital central bank money, or Partior, which is tokenized commercial bank money. So Baton isn't competing with the tokenized money world. It's becoming the switchboard that connects all of it. And this is moving fast. Just in April 2026, Baton announced another deal with a firm called Derivative Path to bring this same real-time FX and payments infrastructure down to regional and mid-sized banks too. So it's not just the giants anymore. So where's all this going? Baton calls itself an AI-ready platform, and I want to be straight with you because this is where a lot of crypto channels would oversell. Baton is not claiming some robot autonomously wires billions around the world. What AI-ready actually means is more grounded, and honestly, more believable. They've spent years turning messy, fragmented post-trade data into clean, real-time, standardized data. And clean data is the fuel that AI agents and automation actually need. On the liquidity side, they use models to forecast and sequence payments. Predictive analytics, not science fiction. So the honest framing, the AI is in the plumbing and the forecasting, not in the decision to move your money. Humans are still in the loop, and that restraint is exactly why banks trust them. The bigger vision, though, is genuinely exciting. Arjun's been saying that within about 5 years, he expects settlement to move toward T+0, trades that settle the same day, instead of the days it can still take today. And the path there is convergence. Old school money and tokenized money, running side by side, around the clock, on the same rails. Not crypto replacing banks, not banks ignoring crypto, the two finally plugging into each other. And Baton's quietly positioned itself right in the middle of that switchboard. So let's bring it home. Baton Systems is kind of the perfect case study for where this whole space is actually heading. It took a 50-year-old problem, Herstatt risk, and it didn't solve it with a token or a moonshot coin. It solved it with boring, beautiful plumbing that the biggest banks on earth actually trust. $25 trillion worth of trust. And here's your real takeaway, the honest, no-hype version. Baton is live proof that you do not need a brand new blockchain or a speculative token to bring tokenization into real finance. So if you want to track whether institutional tokenization is real or just talk, don't watch coin prices. Watch this. Watch how the Nasdaq Calypso rollout goes. Watch whether more banks start picking Fnality and Partior as settlement legs. And go read Baton's own insights page. It's a primary source, straight from the people building it. That's the signal that actually matters. If you got something out of this, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel grow. I've put a full written breakdown with every source linked over on our Notion page, and the link's right in the description. And if you want more deep dives like this, follow along on X at IINMotion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.